A DPA is a data processing agreement. This is an agreement between two parties that are exchanging personal or sensitive data. The challenges around reviewing them, they come up a lot. So they're a very high volume contract and they're actually really important that you get it right. The reason being is that there's actually regulations across the globe handling the transfer of personal data. We all know how important our personal data is to us and why it's important to keep that secure. Companies have to invest a lot of time and resources ensuring that these agreements are up to compliance, not only with the legislation, but with their own internal positions as well. So if you're engaging with a new provider that's payment services, HR related, cloud storage, and there's any sensitive data, you're likely to have a DPA involved in that transaction. As a result of this, they're quite a good candidate for AI to review because of the frequency at which they occur and the risk that's associated with those contracts. The kind of companies that are using data processing agreements, anyone really that's processing data, but specifically we see them with like cloud computing services companies, financial payments companies, legal services, HR companies, any company that is exchanging sensitive data will generally have a data processing agreement in place. When you're reviewing a contract with AI, that will generally start either by uploading into the AI platform, or if it's in a Word document, you can open it up within Word and conduct your review there. Now, a review with AI will generally take into account either your template, your base position, your preferred agreement, or it can be based off of a playbook that you have. Now, that review process, that could end up redlining the agreement, or it could end up producing a report for you. It depends what you want your output to look like. But AI will help you identify and flag those risks based off of your own guidelines or using standardized playbooks. When you're starting to review DPAs with AI, I would have in place either guidelines, preferred positions, or your most important legal considerations. Now, that could be something really formal and structured that you already have in place. That's your preferred position, your fallback position, unacceptable position. But if that's all just in your head, that can be a list that's kind of written down as the most important elements. When I talk about a DPA playbook, there are some core elements that I think you should have included in them. You want to understand the scope and the purpose of what data is being processed. You want to make sure that the audit rights are fair and reasonable and that are potentially limited. You want to make sure that any data breaches have appropriate notification timelines and obligations. And then around what happens if there is a termination of that agreement. These are really core legal concepts that we see in most of the data processing playbooks that we have. There are also a number of secondary checks that you might want to include: the duration of processing, types of data, the categories of the data subjects, rights and obligations, international data transfers, and there are many more that may be more specific for your industry or less relevant. Now I'm going to review a DPA with LegalFly. So I've opened up the DPA in Microsoft Word and I'm going to load up the LegalFly add-in. Once LegalFly is loaded, it's already performed a quick analysis of that document. I'm going to head over to the review agent and I'm going to set up our review. Now that I'm in the review agent, it's going to automatically detect the document type, language and jurisdiction for me, and it's going to apply the LegalFly standard playbooks. What I want to do, however, is I'm going to add in our own LegalFly DPA playbook. And these are those core legal considerations that we want to make sure that we flag and understand each time. Now that all my playbooks are selected, I'm going to run this review. And each one of those items within the playbook are going to produce an answer for me that's going to categorize it as a major, a minor, or a low risk. All of the high risk items I'm probably going to want to pay a bit of attention to and see what suggestions LegalFly has for me to amend that, either in line with the regulations or in line with our own guidelines. Here we go, we've got a couple items on screen now. I can see some proposed redrafts around audit rights and limitations. I'm happy with those, so I want to apply those to the document. They're now applied in redline and with a comment explaining what's been adapted about that particular clause. Once I'm happy with all of the amendments being made, I can then simply send this back to the counterparty and see if they're happy with those positions. And we can continue to work back and forth until we come to an agreement around our data processing agreement.